Okay. If you were not here last time, my name is Danielle Voorhees, and I'm the Health and Human Sciences educator for Purdue Extension here in Grant County. Last week, we kind of talked about the basics of decluttering, and if you missed that session, that's okay. Send me an email. I'm going to drop my email here in the chat, and like I said, send me an email, and I can get you access to the recording from last week's session. Okay, so I just put my email in the chat. So again, if you missed it, send me an email. Today we're going to be talking about paper clutter. So let's just dive right in. And if at any time you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or drop it in the chat box. However, I will say I will get to you quicker if you unmute because I can't see the chat as easily when I'm sharing my screen. So just to start off, I wanted to put a list up here of 60 things that you could declutter in the next 60 days. So a few examples of that would be old CDs, tarnished jewelry, old pillows, boxes, empty jars or storage containers, any shopping bags, books that you don't enjoy, you can donate those, old gift cards that you have used them all or there's like 15 cents on it, you just haven't thrown that away yet. Junk emails, and even going through and deleting any unwanted apps from your phone or texts or contacts that you no longer use. So here's an example. I will be sending out, just like last time, some information to follow up tomorrow so that you have the resources from today's presentation. So if you remember from last time, if you weren't here, that's okay. But we did talk about celebrating changes and if people wanted to send in photos of what they've started decluttering. So I'm going to share some of those. So it is okay to release stuff. This is a picture of someone who was going to donate those bags. Here's a picture of someone's living room filled with the boxes that they have filled, that they are getting ready to donate or trash if there was trash in there. This is the after. And this says, doesn't change make you feel better? Let's just go back and look at the difference there. Here's another example of a space before and after decluttering. And then like this says, decluttering can occur in any part of your home. So this happens to be someone's garage. So there's that before and after. So yeah, just a few examples of pictures people would send in. Also a reminder that it doesn't have to be just in your office or your living room. Decluttering can happen at any part. So the garage, the shed, the attic, basement, whatever. And here's a drawer. I know we talked about last time drawers and junk drawers being like a Midwestern thing. So here's an example of the junk drawer. So here's that before and the after. Much more organized. So if you were here last time and you did start your decluttering challenge, how did you celebrate? You want to unmute or drop it in the chat. If you haven't quite started yet, that's okay. How would you celebrate if you did tackle some clutter and organization? You want to drop those in the chat or unmute? I see ice cream. Yeah, it's kind of cold for me right now for ice cream, but I do like a good ice cream treat as a celebration. Anybody else? All right, that's okay. And just remember that you are the one decluttering, so you get to decide how you celebrate. So now we're going to talk about the 5 S's of cleaning. So those would be sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. Each S represents one part of a 5-step process to improve a business, but it can apply to a home as well. It is meant to result in a workplace that is clean, uncluttered, safe, and well organized to help reduce waste and optimize productivity. The first step of 5S is sort, which involves going through all the tools, furniture, materials, equipment, etc., in a work area to determine what needs to be present and what can be removed from the space. This focuses on what we talked about last week. A workspace and living space do better without unnecessary items or items that are used infrequently. These things can get in the way or take up space like we talked about last time and could potentially be hazardous as far as us tripping over it, falling, and so on. Set in order is another one. Think about what is used most frequently and place that within easy reach. Items that are used less frequently can be placed in less convenient locations, but still in a spot specific for them. Containers, dividers, and folders are all examples which assist with this process. Shine is another one. Shine involves keeping the space around the storage area clean. So what good does it do if your drawer is organized, but items are still being laid on top of the cabinet? There will also be times when cleaning of the actual storage area is also needed. Those crumbs where the toaster is stored will need attention, for example. Standardized system is that, I do this every time, I always trip over my words. Standardize everything that just happened and turns one-time efforts into habits. So standardize assigns regular tasks, creates schedules, and posts instructions so these activities become routines. They become habits for us. Think about only handling items once if possible. This can help standardization to occur. When you are finished with a tool, a piece of paper, or item of clothing, place it in the designated spot right away rather than laying it down to then have to be moved again later in the process. Sustain refers to the process of keeping 5S running smoothly, but also of keeping everyone in the household involved. Having a family meeting can help everyone be on the same page, but it can also be a great way to get ideas on how to make things work from other people's perspectives. And as you will note, this is a cycle that continues. Your needs will be changing as you change, so it's a cycle. It goes on and on. Circumstances will change too, and just be on the lookout for ways your storage could be altered. So now we're going to address purging our paper piles. And the objectives here are to help improve your ability to organize the paper that comes into your life, identify those important papers, create a filing system that works for you, and establishing a system for keeping your papers organized. And again, the most important part of this all is creating a system that works for you. So we all have paper. What papers do you struggle to find among your paper piles? Do you have any specifics that you struggled to find? I know last time we talked about birth certificate. That was the example I gave, was in our clutter, we couldn't find our birth certificate. If you have an example, you can drop that in the chat, but I'll go ahead and move on here. So again, we all have paper. We have vital paper, important papers, some not so important papers, trash, and many of us probably honestly have magazines, cards, probably some artwork that our kiddos or nieces, nephews, friends drew us or painted us, and other papers that accumulate over time. So, do you have a system? It's important to ask yourself questions like, what's working? Do you have a good system for organizing your mail, receipts, pictures? Ask yourself, what's not working? Are you having a hard time purging kids' school papers, magazines, newspapers? And does the task feel overwhelming because you're not sure what you want to keep? Ideas that work for creating a system would be binders with clear pockets already in them. You can use this for papers, but you could also put in instruction manuals inside of there to keep them in a nice, clean, organized place. File folders work great. a filing cabinet, or a filing box even, magazine holders, baskets, just storage containers like those. Okay. Again, other systems besides those that I just listed could be calendars, paper or electronic for notes and numbers to keep it all in one space for you. Binders with page protectors, like I mentioned. So here in this picture, you can see here, this is an instruction manual that you can keep in the binder so that it's in the same spot. You know where to go for all of your instruction manuals rather than looking in one drawer or a closet and you can't remember where you put it. So this way the binder not only keeps it protected, but also in one safe spot. Another system idea would be the envelopes and colored folders to easily identify them. You can label them, have certain colors go with certain things, get creative here, and as well as hanging folders and accordion files. So you can also label the hanging folders and put the information within here as well as an accordion file. That way you can easily move it as needed. It's important to think about what your goal is. It not only helps us stay motivated, but it gives us something to look forward to really hone in on the tasks that we're attempting. So pick a work space to work. It could be anywhere. This could be your desk, a table, a closet, a section of your kitchen counter, wherever. You pick the spot of where you want to work. Imagine what you want your office space or your paper storage space to look like and how nice it will be to have your papers organized so you can find what you need and want when you need and want them, and how nice it will be to be able to eat at the kitchen table again if that's your space that has been the catch-all for your paper storage. Start by setting new rules. Think through how your new system for handling papers will work. Set new rules such as who will be responsible for paper organization, where will papers be located, and when will someone organize them. Ideally, the rules would include one person should be in charge of creating a simple system that works and can be maintained by everyone in the home. Maintenance, active files in one place, easily accessible, have a master list on hand of where everything is and where everything goes, and keep this in front of your filing system along with a summary of the professionals that you use. Set a date. We talked about this last time as a general decluttering strategy, but it works with paper as well. Schedule a time to get started on your paper purge. Gather your supplies that you need, like file folders, hanging folders, labeling materials, filing containers, binder pockets, whatever that you need that you're going to use for your paper filing system. And keep it simple. Keep it as plain and simple and easy as you can make it for you. And again, mark off 2 hours on your calendar on a specific day. Set a timer for an hour, 45 minutes. That way, when the hour and 45 minutes is up, you have 15 minutes to finalize what you're doing, relocate the items, and clean up. Select a starting spot, choose a technique, sort papers where they are, and then combine all papers into one storage area. Or bring all papers together and purge them all at that time and location. So choose your technique, either or, whatever works best for you, whatever makes sense for you. Sort, purge, and eliminate. So this think 80-20 is because we use 20% of papers. So technically we could get rid of about 80%. So file as you go. So you could look at this picture here, and you could have keep box, a recycle box, and then instead of trash, I would advise shred. That way you're not throwing any important documentation into the trash, you're shredding it so that there's no chance of your personal information being taken by somebody else who happens upon it. And then also just have your supplies readily at hand. I know I mentioned that before, but it really makes the process so much easier and smoother and keeps you going on a steady pace. I just mentioned shredding. So shred papers that you don't need that contain identifying information. Throwing these papers in the trash can leave you open to identity theft. Thieves will go through the trash to get pre-approved offers, credit card banking information, things like that. If they have enough of your personal information, they can actually establish credit under your name, and we definitely don't want that. A cross shredder is the most effective shredder to use in this case. It prevents thieves from reconstructing any documents that you do end up shredding and throwing in the trash. Again, just on the screen here, we have a few examples of things that identify you, such as your account numbers, credit card numbers, financial information, financials from any organization, bills, checks, medical information, and old tax documents. I do have some information on avoiding scams, so go ahead and send me an email if you need any information on that. So you might be wondering, okay, I understand the idea, I need to purge some of my papers, but what do I keep? So keep current information only. To help reduce paper over time, just keep those documents that are relevant to you now. And on the screen here, we have some items that you do want to keep, such as insurance policies, wills, military records, employee benefits, pension information, a divorce decree, identifying information items like your birth certificate, passports, marriage license, your social security card, and then items that show ownership such as deeds and titles, security certificates. You can throw out things like receipts that are not necessary for taxes or warranties, any old warranty manuals, old coupons, any old recipes. Maybe you have the recipe memorized or you have duplicates. Go ahead and get rid of those. Old magazines or papers that are irrelevant to you. And then it's important to remember to regulate your files regularly. Throw them out yearly so you can make room for those new documents that will come in for the current year. So here we have listed how long to keep certain documentation. So here you can see things like birth certificates, marriage licenses, divorce decree, passports, and so on. You want to keep those forever. Those are always going to be relevant to you. So those do not have an expiration date. You do want to keep those safe. Tax records, about 7 years from the filing date. Home purchase and improvement records, receipts for large purchases, real estate deeds, things like that. As long as you own the property or the item, you want to keep that information. Contracts, credit card records, you want to keep those until they're paid unless you need them to support any of your tax filings. Bank statements, you want to keep those for a year, again, unless you need them for a tax filing. Your insurance for your car, home, your will, keep those until you renew or update the policy or the will. And investment statements, you want to shred monthly statements and keep annual statements until you sell that investment. Some tips would be to make a mail and filing station with stamps, calculators, pens, envelopes, all those supplies. Keep them on hand at all times. And then make sure that you have a safe place to keep all of these documents. So it could be a fireproof safe or a safe deposit box that's outside of your home, maybe at the bank or something. But just make sure that you have a safe place to keep these documents since they are so important. So where to keep them? I mentioned this a little bit, but here is a list on the screen, active files for in your home, items that you need today or this year that you're going to need to pull out frequently, that you need quickly, bill paying systems, bank accounts, credit card information, insurance, tax deductions, will, family health information, a resume, benefit information, those types of files you want to keep in your home. Again, in a very safe place, like a fireproof safe. Again, permanent files in your home, your income tax documentation, receipts that pertain to warranties and taxes. And then items that are difficult to replace that you might consider storing outside of your home in a safe deposit box would be household inventory, your will, or original documents that are really difficult to replace. So now we're going to talk about household inventory. Household inventory is an inventory of everything you might need to replace in case of fire or theft or an event similar to those. So you want to list a paper list of items that you own, take pictures of the items, take video of the items, and then also remember to take pictures of what's inside of your cabinets. So if you don't want to list all of the items, you can take pictures or video of your home so that you can remember what each room looks like and the items that are usually in those rooms or closets. Again, I stress this, do it everywhere: pantry, closet, storage areas, garage. Open the doors, take pictures of the rooms with the doors closed, with the doors open. Also take pictures of storage spaces such as attics, basements, and garages and shops, sheds. Take pictures of your kitchen appliances and gadgets, the laundry area, literally anywhere that you can think of that you store things. Take pictures of all the cabinets, drawers, even your underwear drawers. It is expensive to replace your undergarments. These pictures will help you remember all the things that you own if you need to use them. Excuse me. If you're overwhelmed by the idea or thought of that, there are apps out there that can help you. There are many home inventory apps. Some are free, some have a charge associated with them. Look for the one that seems intuitive for you and has good reviews. Read the reviews. Search your app store for home inventory. And then you'll have all kinds of different apps to look through. And again, you can look and see the reviews on those, the information, whether or not you think you'll like that app, and make the best decision for yourself there. You can also check with your insurance carrier. They might have an app for home inventory. So for example, Allstate has an app. So you just want to check with your insurance carrier. Some home inventory apps that are very highly rated are Encircle, Memento, Database, excuse me, My Stuff 2 Pro, Sortly, and Nest Egg. There are also home organizing apps that you might find helpful as well. So go ahead, look at your app store, search home inventory and home organization, and give those apps a little look at and see what you like the best. So other helpful tools would be things like scanners, printers, labelers. Downloading computer files and photos to a zip drive or a jump drive can make it easy to travel with. That way you have your important information with you wherever you go. These items will need to be updated from time to time. So set an anniversary date, like when the time changes, when you will update these drives. And you can set reoccurring events on your calendar, on your phone or computer that will help you remember this easily. You can get an app on your phone that can be used as a scanner. Some popular ones are Adobe Scan, Evernote, Scannable, PhotoScan. And if you have an iPhone, you can actually go to your Notes app on the iPhone and you can scan documents through there. If you store your information in the cloud, it's also important to remember to update that. It should update automatically, but you should check on that as well. So now we're going to look at 5 steps to corral your paper clutter. Place related items together. Dispose of unneeded or duplicate items. Choose appropriate containers. Choose a home for each container. That way they're not all scattered over the place and creating more clutter. And then again, reduce the amount of paper that you receive. Cancel those subscriptions that you don't use anymore. You get them and they end up in the trash. Cancel those. Try to do your best to reduce the amount of paper you receive just to make it easier on yourself. So now we're going to talk about digital decluttering. And first, we're going to talk about avoiding being overwhelmed. If you haven't digitally decluttered in some time, be aware that the process can be overwhelming. Katie Corritori is a professional organizer in the New York City area, and she's one that says to be aware that the process can be overwhelming, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't start. She suggests setting a timer for between 10 and 30 minutes every day. And when the timer goes off, you're done for the day. Shorter bursts of focus time can be more sustainable and effective, especially when a project is quite large. So that was Katie's advice, is just to have those short bursts of time to where you address your digital clutter. Start with your computer. For most of us, the computer, your desktop or your laptop, is our digital headquarters, so it makes sense to tackle this first. Delete unused files regardless of age. Clear out downloads, scrap unneeded screenshots, and purge the digital trash. Then pick a time each week to designate 15 minutes to keep it clean. Alexis Hasselberger is a time management and productivity coach based in San Francisco, and she says having a regular day to do this ensures that it doesn't get out of control or overwhelm you. Robert Cicillanio is a Boston-based security awareness expert and speaker, and he suggests that you periodically organize music and photos into folders and uninstall any programs that aren't frequently used, and control icons by consolidating them or deleting unused ones. He says that a desktop cluttered with icons will slow boot up time. So adding that removing an icon won't delete the program, just the shortcut. So that's an important note that he says to remember. Control the tabs. Hasselberger also suggested closing out of all of your open browser tabs at the end of the week if you, like some people, don't shut down your computer daily. If the articles weren't important enough for you to have time to read this week, you're probably unlikely to read them in the future, she pointed out. So cut your losses and move on and close those tabs out. Take on your email. Now, turn to your email, which can be quickly overflowing with messages. Start with your inbox. What's been sitting there for ages that you'll never open, just delete it. Next, respond to outstanding messages, clear out ads, unsubscribe from unneeded email lists, and file documents that need to be saved. The goal is to get down to 0 unread messages, said Hasselberger, or at least as close to 0 as you can get. Going forward, archive anything older than a week. And if you're afraid you'll miss something by doing this, well, you've already missed it. And a tip for unsubscribing to unneeded email lists. Normally, if you get email lists from a certain organization or corporation that you bought something from before and you only bought the one item and you don't want the emails anymore, if you scroll to the bottom of the email, there's usually an unsubscribe button. If you click that, it normally takes you less than 30 seconds to unsubscribe from their mailing list. Check out the cloud. A great way to truly declutter is to use the cloud to store everything from large documents to travel receipts. Virtual storage helps control the computer desktop clutter, can be used to prevent email from getting out of hand, and can even translate to a cleaner physical space. It can also be a great repository for personal and professional pictures, especially those taken with a phone that you don't want to lose. Scan all documents into the cloud and say goodbye to the physical clutter. Gone are the days of stacks of paper on desks. Many open concept workspaces no longer even have filing cabinets, said Hasselberger. Of course, check with your firm to ensure that you aren't running afoul of any record retention or client privacy rules. And lastly, here we have tackle the phone. Meanwhile, don't forget your mobile device, which operates much like a small computer, Cicillanio said. Periodically remove unneeded apps, music, and photos, which can eat into valuable storage space, and make sure you have downloaded the latest operating system for efficiency and security. Once you organize your digital life, keep up with your digital declutter on a regular schedule that works for you. The goal is to not fall behind and fall space hoarding and face space hoarding digital clutter again. So for me, my biggest thing on my phone is I will screenshot things. Like I will buy something and screenshot the receipt, and just in case I didn't get an email as confirmation, and those screenshots sit in my phone forever. I never look at them again, but it takes up so much space on my phone. So that's one thing that I've had to go through and make sure that I'm deleting because it does take up a lot of room on my phone. So again, just like last time when we were talking about declutter in general, take the digital or paper declutter challenge. Does anybody have any paper or digital clutter that they are going to be taking on this week? If you do, you can drop it in the chat. You can unmute. It's probably time for me again to go through my photos and look at my screenshots and get rid of those. Because like I said, those take up so much space on my phone, and I don't even realize that they're there. I don't ever go back and look at them. Well, you are now ready to tackle the paper and digital clutter. Does anybody have any questions for me? If you do, you can unmute or you can drop them in the chat. I did put my email in the chat box. I will put it back again in case anybody joined after I submitted that. So you can email me any questions that you do think of. And next week, we will be talking about storage and maintenance of clutter. And again, look out for an email from me tomorrow with the resources from today. And if you did miss last week's and you're interested in it, don't forget to send me an email to ask for the recording of last week's decluttering information. Thanks, everybody. I will see you next week.